This past Sunday, the BBC officially revealed who would be piloting the TARDIS when Chris Chibnall takes the reins as the new showrunner of Doctor Who. The person in question was revealed to be Jodie Whittaker, whom Chibnall has worked with on his show Broadchurch, and the reaction was mixed, to say the least. For those who aren't aware, Doctor Who is a British science fiction program that started in 1963, went on hiatus in 1989, and came back to television regularly in 2005. The show's longevity is due to the premise of time travel allowing for quite literally any setting, as well as the main character, known simply as the Doctor, to regenerate into a new body in order to cheat death. 12 incumbent actors thus far have played the role, starting with William Hartnell in 1963, and currently by Peter Capaldi, who has a single episode left to air this Christmas before Whittaker takes over the role. For over 50 years, the Doctor has been a man. Jodie Whittaker will be the first woman to play the role outside of Big Finish's Doctor Who Unbound audio dramas, and Stephen Moffat's own The Curse of Fatal Death sketch from 1999. Fans seem to be having mostly binary reactions to the news. They either love it or loathe it. Many in favor of Whittaker's casting see it as a welcome change that should have happened sooner, but are still thankful to see a strong female role model on television that young girls can look up to. Many who are against it see it as stunt casting, pandering, or even a betrayal of the Doctor's character in the most egregious cases. Both sides have been slinging insults at each other and slurs whenever possible, with Whittaker supporters writing detractors off as simply being misogynistic bigots, while more vocal detractors have been referring to supporters as being overly politically correct, far left, and I can't believe I'm saying this because it's lost all meaning to me, social justice warriors that want to take established male characters and bend their gender, as opposed to making their own female characters from scratch. To an extent, I can see both sides of the argument. I agree with the notion that young girls need a positive female role model in fictional media, but at the same time I have misgivings with the idea of taking pre-established male characters and turning them into women in order to meet this goal. There are many detractors who really are just being sexist and refusing to give Whittaker a chance because of her gender, but given Moffat's direction of the show over Capaldi's tenure, the decision to cast Whittaker does feel a bit like pandering. Other detractors, mainly purists in this case, have taken to point out that Time Lords regenerating into a different sex was never brought up in the classic series, and was only introduced during Moffat's tenure, thus going against previously established canon. The flaw in this logic is that while it was never stated prior to the Doctor's wife that Time Lords could change sex upon regeneration, it was also never denied. Just as well, Doctor Who plays pretty fast and loose with its own canon. It has for decades. Personally, I'm indifferent to the decision. I don't recall having seen Whittaker's work, and I'm vaguely familiar with Chris Chibnall's work. That being said, I'm skeptical about the series moving forward. We're going to have a new showrunner and a new Doctor. That alone warrants a bit of healthy skepticism. If Stephen Moffat were to still be at the helm of the show while Whittaker's playing the Doctor, I would be much less open-minded because of Moffat's poor track record writing female characters on the show. Pretty much all of his recurring female characters can be described as being feisty, and while I'm not against such a personality trait in women, when they all can be described with that single word, at least in part, that's problematic. As far as my misgivings with gender-bending established characters go in regard to this situation, I think it's fine and makes sense given the in-universe pretense and context. We've seen Time Lords change sex upon regeneration. There's nothing preventing the Doctor from doing the same. I just hope that Whittaker is given good material to work with and gives a great performance. If anything, the one thing I'm hoping for in regards to the writing and characterization of the 13th Doctor is that the audience isn't beaten over the head with speeches and messages of women can be strong too. That's not to say I disagree with the notion, because I don't. I believe that calling too much attention to it would make the show feel a bit disingenuous. Let the Doctor's actions speak louder than her words. Show that women can be just as capable as men without shouting about it or talking down to men. Wonder Woman did this brilliantly. The more attention you put on something like this when you're trying to change people's perceptions and preconceived notions of the matter, the less natural it seems. Not to mention it would feel like the show is pandering. Adding on to that, apparently there are people out there who are overjoyed at Jodie Whittaker's casting because it got a lot of people riled up. If you're watching this and you agree that one of the best parts of Whittaker's casting was that people got into a tizzy about it, then know this. You're part of the problem too. Think about it. What is there to really gain in making a decision like this, with one of the most desired end goals being to deliberately upset people? If anything, such thinking just creates a further divide among fans, an us versus them mentality not unlike what BuzzFeed perpetuates. The unfortunate reality of this, though, is that neither side seems to really want to listen to each other, as seems to be the case with many one-to-one us versus them sorts of splits. The bottom line is this. It's okay to be happy about Whittaker's casting if you've enjoyed her work in the past. It's okay to be happy that a woman was cast. But it's also okay to be skeptical because of the series being shaken up beyond the confines of the lead's gender. It's not okay to cite Jodie Whittaker's gender as a primary reason for displeasure with her casting. It's not okay to cite male tears as a reason for being pleased with her casting. It's not okay to think in terms of us versus them. and it's most certainly not okay to insult other people who are genuinely skeptical of change without focusing on gender. That said, I hope Whittaker does well in the role and that Chibnall is a good showrunner, and it's really sad that I seem to be one of the few people being vocal about that.